Hello and welcome to another video. A few people last time seemed to really enjoy my run through of Numbani, going over the map, different strategies you can use to take and defend it, and why I don't like it. And a few people have suggested different maps to cover in more of an analysis style video, so I figured we would do just that, and this time we're going to be talking about Shambali Monastary, as you can see. Now, I don't have any strong opinions on this map other than that it's new, so there's a lot of stuff that people don't know how to play around with yet, unlike a lot of the other older maps from Overwatch that have basically been solved for several years now. But this is definitely one where there are points that people seem to struggle attacking on, particularly third point. And I actually found something new that I don't think I've ever seen used in a game before that could actually change how third point is played. But we'll save that for the end because we're going to be starting with first point. This is first point. Walk out from spawn on attack, and this is what you're dealing with immediately. So the most common place for defenders to hold is always just right here on this high ground. It's an incredibly easy to hold location. This is almost always where you're going to want to be playing. If you have something like a Reinhardt that wants to brawl, then your Reinhardt can play down here on this corner sometimes, and the rest of your team still plays up there. Just because Reinhardt wants to be able to brawl and wants to be able to hold a corner. So if you do have a Rein, this can be a better place for him to stand. The one weakness is that, of course, the attacking team can just come through here and flank him. So you'd really need to rely on your DPS to possibly play more on this side. Such as right here, or even right there if I didn't miss my slam. I can't get up there. There we go. Or right here even. This is a pretty good place to hold if you're not fully committing to that top right corner. You can just play a bit more spread out. But yeah, most people will just play right here. Another good spot I don't see people play a lot is in here. Right here just gives you better sight lines into this little area because attackers, if you're just stacked up there, they can play behind this wall as cover, which can be a problem with a certain attacking strategy that we'll talk about next. But playing up here completely shuts that down. Now, the one thing people really struggle on with this map is attacking on a lot of these points. They're all very hard to take in their own ways. Now, this first point is really hard just because the defenders, they have this. Like I said, you always want to defend here. It's just the best spot, because there's the only way to get up here is through this small choke point. If they have a Junkrat, it can be incredibly difficult to get through here, because they can just spam you out, and this is basically the only way you have to come up and contest this high ground. Unless you consider walking through the entirety of main to get to this staircase as a valid way to attack. Alternatively, you could try and make the run from here over to there, but that's really unlikely if there's 5 people stacked up there all firing down at you. So honestly, the best strat I found for attacking, if you can't win the fight here, especially if they have a spam character that can easily spam through that one choke, is to give up on taking the high ground completely. So what I mean by that is, you just have one person dedicated to playing KarQ the whole time, and the rest of your team can go and fight here, but you're not going to be fighting to try and take control of the high ground. You're kind of just fighting to have all of the enemy team's attention, while the one guy on KarQ takes KarQ all the way around. Because the thing with the high ground is that I don't believe they're able to contest while standing on it. And even if they do try and contest, they'd have to drop down and give up the high ground. But so many maps I've seen, where you just send 4 people over there, or maybe 3 people over there. You have 1 person flank this way and play around here, and then you just have someone on KarQ. Because they can't contest from there. If you get KarQ around this corner, this high ground is useless, because you just keep taking the KarQ. And then they just can't fight there anymore. You basically just try and ignore the high ground, cause a distraction, and just try and get KarQ past as quickly as possible. If they do, like, split up and try and contest KarQ, then that's why you'd have 1 DPS play here. Usually you'd have a support be the one on the KarQ, probably a Brig, or something very survivable like a Moira with Fade. But that's why you'd have a DPS play over here, because now if a DPS tries to chase down whoever is on KarQ, your DPS that's playing around here could take the fight against them and get the pick. And if they make the mistake of everyone dropping off of the high ground and trying to go KarQ, or multiple people, then you just give up KarQ and you go back through here to the rest of the team that's fighting here, and now you can try and take this fight as like a 5v3 or a 5v4. Especially if the tank drops, it gets much easier to kind of brute force your way through here. So you're basically looking to either just kind of stealth get the KarQ through this corner, and once it's past this corner, this high ground is almost useless, or you're looking to basically bait people down and then take the fight and take the high ground, and then win and get the KarQ past. So that's usually what this point will look like. The next part of the map is usually you'll take a fight right around here, because defenders don't really want to hold right here. Because if you were to have, say, a Reinhardt here on defense, or your tank playing this corner, the problem is attackers have access to this. So they can come in here, and they have this window, and they can just hit you in the back, hit you from behind. So, and then if they do come this way, and your front line is playing here, then your back line is here, and they can just come and hit your back line. So usually you don't want to hold way up here. Of course, you can always stop to hold here, and just hold here, and then when they start getting close, back up, and this is the main corner you're going to want to be playing. Because what do you have? Well, they can't really flank your back line because your supports can play way back here. You have this bit of high ground, which is absolutely incredible for any hit scans. Really, any DPS can use this high ground. A Junkrat can, snipers can, like almost any, except unless you're like a Tracer or Genji, almost any DPS hero can use this high ground very well. And it can be very annoying to play against because as the attackers, there's not that much you can really do about it aside from trying to run a dive tank. But even then, that usually doesn't work very well. So another question is, how do you attack this map if they're using that high ground, playing way back there, their tank is playing this corner? Usually one of the better strategies I've seen work is for you to just have your tank square up and you have your DPS flank around this way. So they can just come this way, come up through here, and get access to this area. Which is very effective because you can see the tank, you can see the backline, and pressure them. But the DPS playing up there, they can't do anything to you. You're basically out of their range because they can't just fully poke their head out. If they do, you can probably kill them, honestly, because that's being way too far out of that cover. But you usually just play here and you just play to pressure down the tank and kill them. Because once you do that, the DPS will have to drop down if they want to contest. And then if they drop down from the high ground, then you can usually win that fight. but this is probably the best angle to take when attacking, especially if you are playing any sort of sniper or ranged hit scan hero. Mainly just anything. You can even play like a tracer from this angle if you really wanted to. You have options. And after this, we get second point. The second point is usually where most games end. Second point is an absolute nightmare to attack. And I feel like it's probably going to be a lot of people's least favorite point of Shambali Monastery. Personally, I think third point might be even worse, but I don't think enough games even get to third point. I think most games will end on this point if they don't end, like, at this immediate spot on first. So, how to defend this point? I initially want to play hard corners, so initially, the other team wins. They'll probably get the cart to around here, so you can't hold here, so you're going to just be holding this corner most of the time. Or this corner, more likely, if you have the space to work with. This way, your DPS can, like, pressure the backline from this window still. But they can also pressure from this high ground, and this high ground is a massive problem. This is the biggest problem with second point attack, is that this high ground is so easy for the defenders to get to. It's just right here from main. They don't have to commit like a big flank to get to it or anything, or risk themselves that much. They just walk over here and they can just fire at your backline for free. It's easily the hardest part about this second point. And again, it's not even a commitment. If they don't get a kill and the backline like hides, they take like 2 steps over here and now they have sight lines down main again. It is very, very effective and lets them rotate around very quickly. It makes taking this second point on attack an absolute nightmare, because not only do you have to contend with the tank in the front line over here, holding this corner, you have to contend with a soldier or a Cassidy or an ass that can just pop out here at any moment, just toss down dynamite, hit 5, and then start spraying. And it's because of that, that as soon as you get to around this corner, maybe a bit further, you don't want to ever take a fight this way ever again. What you want to do on attack is, once the card is there, you want to go left side. Because this gives you much more even ground to fight against. There technically is a flank route, which we'll talk about, but I hardly see anyone use it. I think more people should be using it, but I rarely see it come up in games that often. But once you get the card over there, you always want to take a fight here. Because now you don't have to worry about this high ground that they can flank and hit your backline from. You don't have to worry about that high ground. And no one ever uses that high ground. It's kind of a concern, but whatever. No one uses it. All you have to focus on is the front line. There's no flanks, so you can take a much better fight from here. And then if you do take this space, then you don't need to aggress. You can just hold this space here, and then focus on moving cart up. And then once you get cart closer, then you can look at taking a fight and trying to win. Because if you do take like a full fight and use ultimates and win, but the cart is way back there, you're not going to cap and you're going to have to just do another fight right around here. Since the defenders will be able to get back in time. And usually if people take this route when you're defending, instead of holding this corner or this corner, you're going to want to fall back and hold this corner here so you have cover to fall back to. One thing I see that's usually a mistake a lot of the time is people will try and play this corner on defense. But the issue is, if they have anything that can brawl, if they pressure you, you can't fall back. You're just locked in this little corner. The only way you can get healed is if your supports play over there. But if they do, then they're also at risk of being killed from main. Like, they're also putting themselves in harm's way just to try and keep your tank alive if they are getting out-pressured at this corner. So you always want to play this corner instead, because you can fully get behind cover and be healed up while your backline is playing safe around here or back there. No, I mentioned that there was high ground that no one ever uses, and that is this part of the map. I am convinced nobody knows that this part of the map is even a thing. Stuff never happens here, and I think a lot more stuff should, because it is a very good flank route. You come over here, you get like full sightline to everything. And there's a whole wall you can just play behind this cover. It's a bit of an investment for the defensive team to get here, which I think is the big problem, is that you don't want to just give up 10 seconds of a fight to just go walk all the way over here, because by that point they could have already been passed and gotten through. But the other thing is that it's not just defenders who can get there. The attacking team can get there as well. They can go way up through here, flank around here, and now they're up here. And this is much better for attackers, because if the other team is holding this corner and their supports are playing like right around here, if you take this flank route as like a soldier or Cassidy, you get free reins on their entire backline from here. And you can play around that. You can probably just play around this. And the good thing is about this position on attack is that if they start going after you and pressuring you, it is so quick to just drop down main and be right back with your team and fight on the front line. I think this is honestly a position that should be a lot more common on attack that I just never see used. Just because of how much free line of sight it gives you to pressure the back line with almost no punishment, because you can just drop down here and now you're back with your team and you can play on the front line. So that's second point. Now, third point, I think, is a lot worse, just because of how much high ground the defenders have that the attacking team can never really get from them that easily. So in defending, usually you want to hold this corner sometimes, especially if they're not that close. The one problem is, of course, if they start pressuring you, you have to hide here, and it normally doesn't end well. So usually you end up holding like around here. It's a pretty weird map to defend in general, because the problem is the constant threat of this flank route here for attackers, because they can play through here and get here. But the thing is that your damage should all be playing on this high ground, because this high ground is absolutely insane. You can't get up to it. Even though you can see it, you can't get up there unless you get way over here. So it's just this whole area where the enemy tank can't even walk up on you if you are controlling this high ground. So you'll usually have your damage characters playing right up here. Your backline will also be playing up here, or maybe playing right here on this corner. Or if you have your tank playing way up, your backline might play right here, or even further back and play back here. But usually a lot of the times I see tanks hold this corner or this corner. And then when stuff starts happening, it's usually this corner and trying to fall back to you. So it's very hard to take because attackers have all of this high ground. It can be hard to hit someone who's using it when your own sightline is like this. And this whole part of the map, this whole like flank section of the map is almost completely worthless because there's no payoff for it. There's no attacker's high ground. You come this way, it's like, okay, I can't see anything. I can see a little bit, but it puts me just like even, and it's such a little space. I can go, oh, there's a building here. Nice. Can I get high ground? No, it leads to here for some reason. This is honestly probably a good spot for a defensive hit scan to play from. But no one ever uses this part of the map, so I never see it get played. You go further, you have over here, which puts you on low ground. So maybe it's good for a tracer, but not really good for anything else. Especially because if you send your whole team, then the defending team will know about it and they can just rotate. And if they all just rotate over to this high ground, it's still going to be very hard to do anything about it. And if you do the full rotation, you just end up here. Which also doesn't really get you anywhere because no one really holds here. It's all over there is usually where people will defend from. So for the attacking team, what can you do? Usually you just look to either pressure the enemy tank really hard, because it can be hard for them to get support if they play this far up. Just because they're relying only on their supports, because if they go back here, they kind of break LOS to their supports. So if you're able to get them from that angle, send 2 people over there, you can out-pressure them and kill them, and then slowly take the rest of the point. But it will still be hard to deal with the damage heroes that are going to be playing around this high ground. Usually they'll just win the fight without their tank. The other way to win is just to try and have your damage heroes get picks, which can be very hard. So now the last thing about the new thing I found on this map that could make it a lot easier for attackers to take is that I lied about attackers not having any high ground they can use. Because you can stand up here. I have never seen anyone do this in a game, but you can stand up here. And this is incredibly good high ground because you have cover with the form of this building. You just have high ground, which makes you harder to hit naturally because it covers up most of your body when you peek the enemy. And yeah, this is attacker's high ground now. And a lot of characters can get access to this with their own abilities. All the snipers can get up here. You can get a Junkrat up here. And the other thing is that with the help of a little character called Symmetra. Sorry, I can't turn off the HUD. The button doesn't work. Maybe? Nope. With Symmetra, you can get everyone up here. The whole squad can just be hanging up on this high ground. You could put a Cassidy up here, a soldier. You can put whatever you want up here if you swap to a Symmetra, which honestly might be worth it. And I've never seen this used in a game, but just conceptually, it looks like this could be incredibly strong for attackers to use, because look at all this line of sight that you get to this high ground. They can't even hide behind this wall, because you just have that much of a height advantage over the defending team. It is incredibly good. So I think that'll be it for this video. Before we finish, I will show you a bunch of very stupid places that you can stand on this map, because there are quite a few of them that I have found, and they're fun to look at. So first, a Widowmaker spot. Because of course, very stupid places you can stand are going to be very good Widowmaker spots. This one is more just funny, but it's also potentially practical. You get like the worst line of sight on the planet, but you can get here with one grapple. I just failed at it. But yeah, you can get here. Again, you can't really get here on attack unless the enemy team is completely clueless about your flank. And defending, it's like you only get a view of like the last 5 meters of the track for the other team cap. So it's not that useful, but it's certainly something that looks funny. The next place that you can stand up is way up here. This is a Widowmaker spot and a half. You can see this whole part of the enemy spawn, and you are up here. So yeah, do with this what you want. Another place that you can stand if you want to have fun, and you can sim TP up here as well, but up on this specific thing, the name of it evades me, but you don't get nearly as good sight lines. You can see right here, but you can like stay here as Farah to like conserve fuel, build it up, and then just wait here and then engage from it. Yeah, those are those 2 spots. Now for the next spot, it's the same thing as the Widow, except a little different. You can get right here as Hanzo, sliding right up against the wall here. And you can kind of do it pretty consistently. You just start here. You just want to jump, wall climb. Don't double jump immediately, so that you fall a bit. This way your jump will barely get you over, so you don't have a lot of speed, and then you can kind of carefully drift to the side to get here. So yeah, another sniper character that can get right up here. If you stand still, it'll pop you up and you'll lose it, so you have to kind of drift left and right a little bit to stay there. But it's a stupid spot. Again, some maps just have a lot of them. There. Just drift in and you will be stuck here. So the last stupid place that you can stand, mainly useful for attackers, but might actually be very useful, is you can actually stand up on this little ledge. And you can actually get to it pretty easily, because you have this area right here. And you can wall climb, double jump, hold left and control yourself, and you can be up here as Hanzo. The only character that can do it. If you notch an arrow, you'll slowly start to slide down because you have less control, but you can peek, fire an arrow, let it go, and then drift back up. As for how useful this is, I don't think it would be that useful, but it would be funny if you did it in quick play. I'm just saying. You do have to be careful for those little divots where the rock has been taken out, because if you hit one of these, you won't be able to stay up anymore because it's a bit too sloped for you to keep your momentum on there. But yeah, that's it for Shambali Monastery. I feel like there's still a lot for this map that has not been fully explored. So how the map plays may change a lot, but that's at least how it's played right now. Again, I think more attackers and defenders need to make use of this area. I never see people make use of it. Maybe once every like 20 games I get on this map, I will see someone come over here once. But yeah, this could change how third point is defended if it ends up being used more often. Same with potentially this high ground here. Because even I have infinite abilities, but to get up there as Hanzo, you can just wall climb. You can make it. And now you can just play around here. Like, this seems insane for attackers to use. Like, I think this was the hardest point to take on this map. This could change that. Because, goddamn, this is some very effective high ground. So yeah, there is technically this flank route. But the thing is that you just get put here, which is just the same as you could just walk out here. Except this just makes your flank much more noticeable. Unless you're unhinged enough to try and hit a headshot while climbing the wall. But yeah, that's it for this video. And next I'll probably make a video talking about why flying characters are starting to become a problem. Until next time, see ya.